setting up the honor roll, calculating the honor roll, getting a report of students on your honor roll, and then we can handle any questions throughout or at the end. I am using a train environment today, as you can see, so I'm in our Meta High School. I'll be focused specifically within the building. I won't even go out to the district office in this training at all. It's all within the building today. And a lot of what I'm talking to may feel like it pertains more to middle and high school, but it could pertain to an elementary building as well if you do honor roll. So keep that in mind. And again, if there's any questions throughout, please feel free in the chat or or take yourself off mute. I would look forward to the questions. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So this is a database of fake student data, as we kind of say every time. I'm not going to go through the documentation this time. I think all the users on the call know where to find it. Up in this help menu, you'll find it. But I do want to point out that we have an agenda for today's training. It is simply labeled Honor Roll Power Hour, and it just goes through simply the three primary activities we're going to do today on this call, as well as it gives you a couple of additional resources, documents, let's call them, that could be helpful to you. So just wanted to make you aware of that. That's in our documentation, again, titled Honor Roll Power Hour. All right, let's get started then. Again, everything we do today will be in the school building, and the first thing we need to do is talk about where the calculations and calculation setups are found within your building. And again, they would probably be different per building within your district. So I know all the users in the call, you're in a school district that has multiple buildings. You have elementaries and you have middles and a high school, or more than one high school in some cases. So I'm going to start though with stored grades for just a moment. I'm not going to talk about how to store grades today, but I do want to point out that in order to run an honor roll for this school year, you would have to have some stored grades in there. Depending on which honor roll setup and GPA calculation you're using, that is. But in our example, we're going to need some stored grades. So I went ahead and did that. I've stored our grades in this building for Q1, and we are going to be focusing on an example in Q1. But I do want to verify, because I may not be the person in my building that does the grade store, so I want to verify that grades have been stored. So I'm going to find my example students, and in this train environment, I have this list that I usually use, my advisory group here in stored selections. So I'm going to go grab a hold of that group of students, and I will just use the first student as an example. And I am going to go to her stored or historical grades page, historical course grades page within academic records. Again, I'm just looking to be sure that I have students with stored grades. I can pretty much assume if I have a handful of students that have their grades stored, if my person who stores grades in my building has said, yep, I've stored grades, now I verified, then I can go ahead and move on with my process. Now I can run an honor roll, see who made it based upon this information. So again, I'm not looking specifically at what their grades are at this point. I'm just making sure there are grades in Q1 for the 25-26 year for what I'm about to do. All right. There are reports. For example, there is a PSCB report. It would take a little bit longer to run. I'm not going to do that on this call. I'm not going to run it because it does take a little bit of time, but I do want to show you that if you wanted to look at the bigger picture and maybe export every stored grade for a quarter, you could go to the PSCB custom reports, which is a customization that most every one of our districts are using. You could go to the grading menu here, and down under stored grades, there is a stored grades search. And if I ran it wide open, if I clicked there and I ran it wide open, I could export or at least look at, if I wanted, every stored grade for a selected store code term, if I wanted to do so, if I had a reason to do so. So just a secondary note, a little bit of a tangent there to talk about grades within a term. Just wanted to let you know that there's other places to kind of look for that sort of thing. So I'm going to go back to my start page in Meta High School, and I could keep the selection or I don't need to. It's completely optional. because right now I'm just going to look at calculations. So I'm not really doing anything with this group of students right now. All right, so again, the first thing we're going to look at is the honor roll methods. So I went to school management into my academics menu, and there is an honor roll header over here. We're going to look at both of these this morning, honor roll methods and how to calculate the honor roll. But before I calculate the honor roll, I do want to know what my methods look like. And in the rare case where you're a brand new building or you've never had an honor roll method before, this would be where you'd set it up. So when I go to honor roll methods, I have a list of all the type of honor roll methods in history that have been used in my building, or maybe haven't been used but have been set up by somebody here. And you'll see I've got some that are pretty specifically labeled and some that are more generic sounding. I always like a good description on what this is going to do for me or what I'm going to use this for. So I do recommend that. So for each method, there could be multiple levels, and I will come back to that point of levels of honor roll. But right now I'm just focused on methods of the honor roll. The first one you see here is the athletic eligibility for quarter one. I will be the first to say this is not the most common way to use an honor roll method, but it could be very useful for you. All right, so I did want to point this out. This was pulled out of this idea was pulled out of a district that we serve that's actually using this. And they're using an honor roll method to basically count to make sure that students have 5 passing grades and at least a 1.5 GPA. And when they run this method and it looks at their quarter one GPA or their quarter one grades and GPA, it will simply give them a list of every student who is eligible for athletics based upon that criteria. So you can use the honor roll method for other types of lists if you want. Just know that when you calculate an honor roll method, it does create a record of who is on that list. Not who's not, but who is on that actual list. So again, I will come back to that particular point as well when we run that report and we go look at individual students. But I just wanted to point out, this is another way, kind of a less common way to use it, but could be pretty helpful for you. The more common way to use honor roll is simply what we're gonna really focus on this morning is a quarter one honor roll, right? So I want to know who made the honor roll based upon my set criteria within quarter one. So within each method, I mentioned levels, but first I want to show you over here. So notice that both these are hyperlinked. And a lot of times in PowerSchool, when you have a label somewhere on a page and it has 2 different hyperlinks, you may be unsure of where to click into. So I do want to tell you that the title of the method is where you'd edit the title of the method or the description. Really, that's it for the most part. It's levels that's going to tell you all the information about this method. And I'll show you what I mean. So your name, your description, I can put more information here. I could put less. The third thing that it lists here, though, is whether all schools in your district have access to this particular method, or if it's only for my high school, Meta High School. So that is up to you and your district. We serve a lot of smaller districts as well that, maybe you would have the same GPA calculation or the same honor roll calculation in your middle school as you would in your high school using the same GPA calculation. And therefore you'd want it to be available at all schools so that they see it down at Meta Middle School as well. So that's completely up to you. Or Meta Middle School can create their own. It might look exactly like Meta High Schools, but maybe you just want them to have their own. All right. So all of mine are specific to the building. So I could submit, or I could simply, if I made any changes, or I could simply go back to my methods. Any questions so far before we go on to the levels?
There is nothing in the chat, but feel free to take yourself off mute if you do have a question.
So on to my levels now, and I'll show you a second example a little later. But some of these GPA or these, I keep saying GPA, I'm sorry. So we did our GPA Power Hour 2 weeks ago. Some of these honor roll methods do only have one level, and some of them have more than one level, but that's the next thing I'm going to talk about. Again, using our Q1 honor roll method as our primary example today, this one does have 3 different levels. What does a level mean? Students can only qualify for honor roll on one level within a method. So I'll give you an example. I used to work at a middle/high school, and we had a top honors per quarter, we had a regular honor roll per quarter, and we had a merit roll per quarter. And anytime there's going to be more than one level within a method, you'll need an evaluation order. This is very important because the evaluation order tells the calculation which level to calculate first. For example, I'm just going to give you the answer here that I'm going to show you in a little bit. But my top honors are kids who earned a 4.0 for the term or higher if they have weighted, maybe they have weighted classes. So the reason I want to say that right now is if a kid had a 4.0 GPA for the quarter, I would want him or her to qualify for top honors first. All right. The Q1 honor roll has a slightly lower GPA threshold to qualify them. So I wouldn't want that 4.0 or 4.2 student to qualify for honor or merit. They should qualify for top honors. So this evaluation order says in the calculation, once they qualify for top honors within Q1, they can't qualify for honor roll, they can't qualify for merit roll. They can only qualify for one. If this evaluation order was what I'll say out of order, then, if merit roll was my number one, if that was the first one I put on here, then it would calculate everybody into that merit roll, which again is a lower GPA threshold, and then nobody would be in top honors. Let me know if you have questions about that. That's one I will say when I was in a building and learning this for the first time, that's what threw me a little bit. But once you run it, it makes a lot more sense. Any questions out there?
Doesn't look like it.
So again, if I have a student who has a 4.2 GPA and she meets the other criteria that I've set, that again, I'll go through as an example, then she would qualify for top honors, but not honor roll and not merit roll. And maybe her younger sister or older sister who has a 3.1 GPA for the term, she'd qualify for this merit roll potentially, but not top honors. So they could both qualify for honor roll, but just at different levels. All right, again, we'll use top honors as our first example here. And so I'm going to go ahead and click. Now is where I do go to the next piece here, and I click into the top honors level. And you're going to get a lot more information on this page than you've seen yet so far. Our name of the level. You can also have a description on the level. May or may not be necessary for you, but you can. The evaluation order is listed here too. It matches what you saw on the prior screen. If I change it here, it would change it on the other screen as well. We've had some questions about this message before. What does this message do? So I plugged in a new message here when I was preparing for this training because I wanted to show you an example of what I might want to display to a student or a parent. In this example, I went in a little bit into more detail than probably needed. You've qualified or you've earned the honor roll field trip. You don't need to have anything here, but just know that if your report card is set up in such a way that it displays these messages, then, and ours is, and I'll show you that example later, in Meta High School, this will print on their report card. This will display on their report card this message if they earned Q1 top honors level for the term. And that's why we have this here. Also, there is an honor roll student screen, and it will display there in the public portal as well, that message that you have. Again, you don't have to have a message if you don't want. You could simply take that out. And if you remove this message before you calculate the honor roll, this will not display for them. Because again, that calculation for honor roll is creating a static or stored record of when they earned honor roll and which honor roll that they earned. Every honor roll has a GPA calculation method. We talked about GPAs in the last Power Hour a couple weeks back. So this, I will just tell you, so we're not going to go again, look at the district office to look at different GPA calculations in this one, but I want you to know that this particular GPA calculation method, and it says it in the name, it looks only at Q1 grades and only at stored grades. It's not pulling from the grade book. The GPA result is numeric, almost always. All right, so every district that I've worked with, every district, all these training boxes, all list numeric as the GPA result. And then this is the really important piece that makes it different from the other levels, of course. Their GPA, based upon this calculation, is greater than or equal to a 4.0 to tell the system whether they qualify for top honors. There are some, and then you can tick this box if you want. This is a course setting right here. So if I tick this box, it's looking at the course settings for these particular classes that the students are taking. And if I tick this box, it means that only use or only consider classes that are marked to count in honor roll. There is an option, there's a radio button on every one of your course preferences that says you can exclude from the honor roll calculation. Credit options. I don't see this utilized a whole lot, but it can be. So you can set a minimum amount of potential or earned credits within a term. So if I was doing a, let's say, semester end type of honor roll or a year end type of honor roll, I might only want to consider in the calculation students who have earned so many credits. So I could utilize this here. I could also set a number of courses, a minimum number of courses here. So greater than or equal to 5. I did notice in this train box that I do have students taking less than 5 courses. So I had, when I ran this test before this training, I noticed I had students qualifying for the honor roll that were only taking 1 or 2 classes. So keep that in mind. You might want to utilize this. But there's another way to do that as well. So grade, and that's where we get to grade options. So in order to qualify for my Q1 top honors, obviously the 4.0 or higher is no negotiations there. They have to have a 4.0 or higher within the quarter to get top honors. But what about grade options? Is there anything additional they have to qualify or they can't have? And one of the qualifiers I used, which again, for a 4.0 student in general, probably not going to be a consideration or something that's going to happen, but it's possible, and I want to narrow out all those possibilities. If a student is taking, let's say, 8 weighted courses, and they're earning an A in every single one except for one of them, and they have an F, could they have over a 4.0? It really depends on your calculation and how many grade points a weighted class gets. So that's why I wanted to put this caveat in there. I wanted to say that in addition to having a 4.0 or higher to qualify on the honor roll, they can't have any failing grades. And if I wanted to add some other qualifiers in there, I'd simply add commas and I could add more grades here. So students who qualify for the honor roll can't have any F's, D minuses, D's, or D pluses in that term. Now, I will show you the athletic eligibility example a little bit later and show you how you can do something like the opposite with this grade options, like students must have so many of a certain grade. But you can add several qualifiers down here. You know, I could say they have to have at least 4 A's, something like that. I don't know, you know, I don't know if that would, you know, be worth doing on this one, but it's just an example. So I'm going to take that out. So each honor roll level has its own setup. It could have a different GPA calculation. It could have its own GPA threshold, and it could have its own unique grade option qualifiers as well. I do want to show you an example here. I'm going to open a new tab. As I did mention this, so I thought I'd show you. I'm going to go to the courses menu. So I talked about course preferences, and it looks like I already have my example course pulled up. So I have this Apex Credit Recovery course. And maybe this course doesn't count in the honor roll. And I think in this train box, it already was marked that way. I didn't mark this. See how it says it's excluded from the honor roll? So it's not included in that calculation. So regardless of what grade they earned in Apex Credit Recovery, or you know, if they've earned credits and that's a qualifier that I've added or anything like that, this doesn't count in the calculation. So I just wanted to show you where that's located on the course. That can be a course section setting as well, but the course, and if it's set on the section, it would supersede the setting on the course. But typically you'll see this set up at the course level. Questions on that? Okay. All right,
Nope.
let's go back. Oh, no
No, I was
questions?
just gonna say no questions.
Okay.
You paused.
All right, now I do want to show you one more example. It's truth be told, it's not going to be much different, but just for the purposes of our example, I do want to show you in the Q1 honor roll. So once that's evaluated in the calculation, all students who have a 4.0 or higher that qualify have earned top honors. Then it's going to evaluate the rest of the students that you have selected. And now for this one, I gave them a slightly different message here. It's using the same GPA calculation, but the most important thing here is the comparison GPA threshold is different. So now that you've taken your 4.0 and higher kids out of the mix and they've earned top honors, now it's looking for anybody who's less than a 4.0, but greater than or equal to a 3.5. I still have the only include grades that count in honor roll in case there's any courses set up uniquely like that Apex one. I didn't change anything down here. I did add some new qualifiers here. So I want to give you this example as well. And I'll be honest, I pulled this second example, the second grade option example, right from the school I used to work in. I always remember this, that students could have no more than one C on the report card for the quarter in order to qualify. So in other words, they could have 3 A's, 3 B's, 1 C, they would be on the honor roll. But if they had 3 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's, they could not be on the honor roll. So that's all in how you're set up. That might be a board approved decision. That should be in your handbook, I would think. Whatever your stipulations are for your honor rolls is what should be reflected in this calculation. So in this case, they cannot have a C minus or lower at all. So no grades, include these ones, these letters. And then they can't have more than one C plus or C. Again, just an example. Should this, yeah, technically this should probably be on the 4.0 one as well. But I'm just giving two different ways of doing this. All right, so I just wanted to show you that there's a slight difference here. So now it's looking at that. And then I'm not going to spend much time at all on the third one because you now get the picture. The threshold for this one is a 3.0. So they can get merit roll. They got a different message. These are students who have a 3.0 to a 3.4999. And again, same grade option qualifiers as the other one. Any questions there before I move on? Anything about honor roll methods, honor roll setup? I said I'd come back to it, so I will very briefly, but I just wanted to show you a different kind of example. But you'll get the picture because it's, again, very similar. For athletic eligibility, the way they're using this honor roll calculation to get a list of eligible students, they have simply set a threshold for GPA. So no students will qualify that have under a 1.5 for the quarter. And then this is where it's a little bit different. Students must have at least 5 classes with one of these grades. All right. So they're meeting the state minimum, what I believe is still the state minimum for athletic eligibility. Last time I knew, 5 classes, passing classes for the quarter with a 1.5 GPA or higher. Yours may be different. You might have a higher threshold, but I'm going with state minimum here. So again, if I run a calculation on my athletic eligibility for Q1, it's going to give me a list of however many students within the selection of students I have that qualify for eligibility for next quarter. I noticed a slight typo here. Make that a comma. There we go. All right. So that's the methods of what the calculation is going to be looking at. But now that we know our grades are stored for Q1 and we know our methods are set up the way we need them, now we need to calculate the honor roll. So I will go back here to the beginning. Now I can calculate honor roll for a grade level of students, for really any selection of students that I want, or I can calculate honor roll for the entire building, which is going to make the most sense, I would say, in most cases. So I'll go back to school management. This time I'm using calculate honor roll. And I do have some options up here I want to talk through. Would I want to calculate honor roll for one single student? It's possible. Maybe this student wasn't in my selection before. Maybe this student had her grades updated by her teachers and we've restored her classes. Those are some of the reasons that I could think that I might want to calculate the honor roll for one single student. I guess same goes for a selected small amount of students. You know, there may be some grade changes. The thing to know about honor roll calculation, though, I think one of the biggest, you know, we've handled a lot of cases about this in the past, but once you calculate the honor roll, I've mentioned this earlier, there's a static stored record of the honor roll that student earned. So if you're ever looking at a student record from a past year, and you notice that a student has 2 honor rolls in the same term in the same year, someone in your building may have calculated the honor roll more than once. All right, and it's not, you know, the biggest problem in the world, obviously. It just might be a little confusing for you and for the parent or student looking at that record. So Meta has created a customization, as our devs often do. And now there is a way to remove the old honor roll calculation record before completing a new one. Because the way it's worked prior to last year is you'd have to put in a case with us. We would have to go in the background and remove those honor roll records so that you could run a new one. So that's why this blue button exists on my screen and it might not on yours. So there is a customization out there. And one of the resources I put on our agenda at the bottom is the honor roll delete customization that Meta has. If that's something you're interested in, I would talk to your district leader about making that an option in your environment. They have to turn that on for you if it's not already. And I'll show you how that works. So after we calculate this honor roll, I will come back to the screen and show you what's going to look different. Because again, if I calculate an honor roll and then my teachers, get another day to finish putting in grades, and then they've confirmed they're all ready, and then I come back here and calculate the honor roll again, it's going to create a new honor roll record for any student who qualified both times, and we don't want that. You don't want duplicates. So again, this customization will simultaneously remove the old while creating the new. So pretty convenient. It saves you steps, and it also, to be honest, saves us steps on our end. All right. So I do want all students in my building to be, I want the honor roll to calculate for all students in my building. And I'm calculating, of course, for Q1. That's what we've been focused on today. And I'm in this year. I do want to show you, what, while we're here, I can flip back to next year. I'm obviously not going to be running honor roll for last year, but I do want to show you that it shows that there are existing Q1 honor roll records. These are honor roll records it's talking about. So that's what it'll look like. But again, I'm not running honor roll for last year. So all 1,600 students are in my selection. I am using the honor roll method. So again, it's looking at the overall method. It's not listing all the levels here, because the fact that I have Q1 quarter one selected as my method, it's going to look at all three levels in the evaluation order. So I'm running it for store code Q1. In other words, only look at my Q1 grades for 25-26 and run the honor roll method of quarter one. Let's go ahead and submit that, because this will take probably minute and a half. So once this finishes up, the next things, what we're going to wrap up with is I'm going to show you how to run a list of your students who qualified on the honor roll. And I'm going to show you where it stores that record on student pages as well. And we'll also look at the Meta report card, a customized report card, to show you how it can display on your report card as well, if you want to. Any questions while we're waiting for the calculation? And if you could, thanks, Chris. Chris put up a question here in the chat. We consider feedback very important for all of our training, so it's always helpful to hear back from you. We are going to have a training survey at the end, and we'd really appreciate you filling that out as well. But as we go along here, it's nice to be able to pop questions into the chat just to kind of get a pulse on what you're thinking about, what your questions may be, and that sort of thing. So as you can see, pretty large building. It didn't take very long. I think it took a minute and a half. And as soon as I get that honor roll calculation complete, and then what PowerSchool tends to do is kind of put a gray line box around pages like this when it finishes a process. That's how I know. I'm just looking for that complete. Now I know that that's finished up. So again, I told you I would take you to a place to show you which students qualified. I had all of the students in my selection in my building. So this group of kids is irrelevant to what I'm doing now, because they may have qualified, they may not have. I'm going to go ahead and, you know what, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to go ahead and keep that. And maybe we'll come back to that. So the next thing I want to look at is a list of all students, not just my advisory kids, but all students who qualified. Data and reporting. And by the way, I did put these breadcrumbs for all of the places I've gone today in this training on the agenda. So if you didn't get a chance to print that agenda or get a hold of that agenda, please see the documentation, get a hold of it, because it'll be very clear. I know I'm kind of buzzing through the breadcrumbs here, but I do want you to know that I have those listed out for you. Data and reporting, reports, system reports. And then on this page, there's a lot of great reports for you, but one of them found under grades and gradebooks is the honor roll. So again, looking at all the students in my building, I can call this report title whatever I want. I don't have to call it Q1. I know that I'm looking at Q1 only. Maybe I want to call it the 25-26 first quarter, whatever I want to call it. This is just a label for me. The honor roll method is Q1, the store code is Q1. So same criteria we're using earlier, but this is, and again, this is another place that throws some people off because the page looks so similar between the calculation and the running of the report. I just want to point out that these two things are different. I am going to leave blank for the current school year and leave blank for the historical grade level because I want all of my grade levels considered. And the reason I'm putting in Q1 is because I'm technically in Q2. I don't have any reason to believe there would be an honor roll run for Q2, 3, or 4, or any others, but I'm just going to go ahead and narrow it down and make sure that nothing else is getting in my report here. So I have a list of students with the title that I gave it, 25-26 Q1 report or honor roll. I get a student name. Now you'll notice this isn't a filterable, sortable report like you'll find on those customized PSCB reports, but I can copy paste this into a spreadsheet, which I am going to do so that I can filter and sort on my own. But I do want to point out, I have the students who earned the top honors that had a 4.0 or higher. I then have a large group of students, presumably larger group of students, because the threshold's a little lower, that earned a anywhere between a 3.5 and a 3.999. And then I get my third group, again, looking at levels, right, with the evaluation order. And here are my students, and they are bunched up by grade level. Well, first it's going to be evaluation level or honor roll level, and then their grade level. So now I get my merit roll students all the way down here. And again, there's an even larger bunch of those. So this is a little bit manual, a little bit of a manual process, but I am going to copy and paste this into an Excel doc, and I'm going to save it because this is how I share it with who it needs to be shared to. There we go. So now I have all of my students who qualified, their name and student number, their grade level, which they qualified for, and what their GPA is. All right. If I only wanted to see my top honors kids, I could just simply have those pulled up. I have 126 kids who earned top honors. That's quite a bit. You might not have that many. Again, we're in a train environment, fake student data. I kind of randomize the grades here. Lot of kids are doing really well. Oh, that was my honor roll. That's why. I'm assuming top honor is going to be less. There we go. Yep, that's a good number. 32 students had a 4.0 or higher. That does make sense. So a lot of them are taking weighted classes. A lot of seniors, right? Just a couple freshmen. And I could clear out the filter there. I could only look at my seniors and maybe grade 14s together. And now I'm looking at 99 seniors. That's pretty good. 99 seniors out of probably 300 to 400 qualified for some kind of honor roll. And maybe we want to note that at our next awards assembly or something. All right. The other thing I want to show you while we're on the topic of looking at which students qualified is actually what I'm going to do for this next step. I'm going to get rid of this selection. And easiest way I know to do this is to grab my group of students here, by student number off my spreadsheet. I'm going to use multi-select. And all I'm doing right now is I'm simply putting students who earned some kind of honor roll. It looks like I had it filtered down, so I have only my seniors here. That's okay for my example. So I have my seniors who earned honor roll, and I'll just start with the first kid in the alphabet. We got some interesting names here in our train box. So I can verify, I can look at her grades here. I can verify, yep, she earned honor roll. This makes sense to me. She had all A's and B's. I'm sure she was either merit or regular honor roll, but I can go find out. Academic records. So right under cumulative info, under academic profile, I can go to her honor roll page. Every student has a page, whether they've qualified for any or not. And this is where I can find out which times in her academic history she's qualified for an honor roll. This school year, while she's been in 12th grade, she's qualified for quarter one, and it was the quarter one honor roll. So that's the 3.5 or higher. Also, while we're on a student here, I do want to pop over to her report card. And I can see at the bottom, because our report card is programmed that way, it does have an honor roll line with the message. All right. Any questions? So I showed you the honor roll student page, just looking at my notes here. The honor roll student page, the meta report card, we verified on her historical grades just out of curiosity. We've talked about how to pull report for every student who qualified. I guess I should go back just to show you that one more time. If, again, the principal announced, hey, teachers have the weekend to finish up their grades, they weren't quite done yet, and now it's Monday, and we come back to here, I could update and submit, which will create an entirely new record of honor roll, deleting the old one in case maybe you have some students that no longer qualify. Maybe you have some additional students who do now. But that's only because of this customization.